class, and here is your grammar lesson for today, Wednesday, April 8th, 2020. Just like yesterday, we are talking about present tense verbs. And yesterday, we talked about present tense verbs are verbs that are happening right now. And so we simply identified them in a sentence and wrote them on the line. We know that a present tense verb is telling about a verb that happens or an action that happens now. And so today we're going to talk a little bit about how to make present tense verbs when maybe your spellings are a little bit different or have different ending letters. Here we go. Our first jot dot, please track or read with me. A present tense verb must agree with the subject of the sentence. In other words, it has to make sense. When it says it has to agree doesn't mean to tell it it's right. Agree means it has to make sense. It has to sound right in the sentence. If it doesn't, it's probably not correct. So a present tense verb must agree with the subject of the sentence. Add S to most verbs if the subject is singular. Okay, so remember, singular means one. So if the subject of my sentence is talking about one of something, it's singular, except when the subject is I or you. So again, English is a tricky language. You guys hear me say this all the time. English is tricky. But add S to most verbs if the subject is singular, unless it's I or you. Add ES to verbs that end with S, CH, SH, or X. So if the verb has a different ending, let's say catch. Catch ends with CH. So instead of just adding S, we would add ES. Wish. I wish I had another puppy. Wish ends with SH. It's a verb. But if I was going to talk about her, like she wishes, because it ends in SH, I have to add ES instead of just S. Here are two good examples. The pinwheel spins in the wind. It's one pinwheel, it's singular. The verb then ends in S. The pinwheel spins. The second sentence, the boy watches. The boy is singular, but the word watch ends in CH. So instead of just adding an S, we have to add ES. And then it tells us do not add S or ES if the subject is plural. Remember, plural means more than one. So let's say the fireflies glow. We wouldn't say the fireflies glows because that's too many S's, right? If the subject is plural, like fireflies, we would not add an S. If it was one firefly, the firefly, then we add an S to say glows. Our directions say, underline the verb that agrees with the subject. Write another sentence using the same verb. So we have a little bit of a different assignment today. The first thing we need to do is underline the verb that agrees with the subject. Remember, agrees means it sounds right, it makes sense. After that, we are going to write our own sentence using the same verb. So I'm going to do part of this with you, and then I'm going to have you do part of it on your own. Number one, Mr. Wilson teach or teaches about the sky. Well, let's try each one and see which one sounds right first. Mr. Wilson teach about the sky. Or, Mr. Wilson teaches about the sky. To me, to my ears and my brain, one of those words sounds better than the other. But let's say you're having trouble deciding which word that would be. Stop and ask yourself, Mr. Wilson, is that singular or plural? Well, he's just one person, right? So it's singular. That means that if the subject is singular, we have to add S or ES. So which one of my verbs ends in S or ES? Teaches. Mr. Wilson teaches about the sky, and that one hopefully sounds better to your ear and sounds better to your mind than Mr. Wilson teach about the sky, right? So if it doesn't sound right to you, fall back on the rules. If it's singular, it has to end in S or ES. If it's plural, it does not. Okay, and then the directions say write another sentence using the same verb. Well, that verb is teaches. So, let's say I'm going to write a new sentence. My mom teaches me to cook. My mom teaches me to cook. I want to use the same verb, but in a different sentence. Boys and girls, we are going to look at 2, 3, and 4. I'm going to read 2, 3, and 4, and we are going to identify the correct verb, but I want you to write the sentences on your own, okay? Number 2, the moon turn around the earth, or the moon turns around the earth. First of all, I'm not sure why sun and moon are capitalized. I'm not sure they need to be. I know that earth does need to be, but perhaps sun and moon, maybe that's a new rule. Anyway, that has nothing to do with this lesson, so I'm going to move on. The moon turn or the moon turns. First of all, if we don't know which one sounds right, we go back. The moon, is that one or more than one of something? Well, it's one, right? And one is singular. And when it's singular, we have to choose the verb that ends in S or ES. So would that be turn or would that be turns? Well, turns ends in S. So I know that turns is the correct verb. The moon turns around the earth. Now you are going to write a sentence of your own. Don't copy this one. Write a new sentence on your own. Number 3, the light of the sun shine or shines on the moon. The light of the sun shine or shines on the moon. The light of the sun, let's just think of it as the light. Is it one or more than one? Well, again, it is singular, one. The light is just one of the sun. So the light of the sun, if it's singular, if it's just one, we have to go with the verb that ends in S or ES. So is that going to be shine or shines? Shines is correct. The light of the sun shines on the moon. Make sure you write your new sentence here. Number 4, stars help or stars helps me see the path. Look at your subject first. The subject is stars. Is stars singular or plural? If you said stars is plural, meaning more than one, you are correct. Stars is more than one star. So I have to follow the rule. The rule says if it's plural, do not add S or ES. So I'm going to choose the verb that does not have an S or an ES. That verb would be help. And our sentence then becomes stars help me see the path. Stars help me see the path. And so if you read the other version, stars helps me see the path, you might hear that it sounds a little funny. But again, if you're not able to tell just by listening to how it sounds, fall back to the rules. The rules are going to help us a lot, right? So once again, you guys, the point of this lesson to wrap up is that if you have a present tense verb and it's singular, your verb should have S or ES after it. If you have a present tense verb and it is plural, you are not going to have S or ES after that verb. I hope this was helpful. Talk to you soon.